The U.S. added just 210,000 jobs last month, far below expectations. Economists had predicted 550,000 jobs would be added. Now businesses across America are bracing for how the Omicron variant of COVID, confirmed in at least 5 states now that we know about, seems to grow every day, will actually affect their industries. Again, this is an economic issue. The White House still saying it could take weeks before we know how severe the new variant is. President Biden promising vaccine mandates are still the best way to get Americans back to work. And Press Secretary Jen Psaki has not taken the possibility of new lockdowns off the table. Our own Sean Hannity says the president is not on the same page with the rest of America.
No more lockdowns, no more draconian measures, no mandates, no masks, no lectures, no scolding. We're sick of it. Joe Biden is not a uniter. He does whatever his far-left advisors tell him to do.
Steve Forbes is chairman and editor-in-chief of Forbes Media. Always great to have you in focus. So you just heard from the President of the United States. I did some light fact-checking there. I'm going to lean on you to tell us what's really happening in this economy, Steve.
Well, what you have is an economy that wants to move ahead, but there's still artificial barriers there. Yes, we know the huge supply chain problems. Those are underestimated when you shut down a global economy. Not helping that in the future. Europe is locking down again. But the fact is that lockdowns don't work. We know medically they don't work. Economically, they're hugely disruptive. In terms of health care, they're hugely disruptive. So in terms of the economy, the administration is still waging war, for example, against the oil and gas industry. They haven't yet explained why getting a barrel of oil from Russia is somehow better for climate change than getting a barrel of oil from America. So they want Russia to produce more and we to produce less. And those kinds of mixed signals are hurting investment in the future. So if they just get out of the way, the American people would do it. One of the amazing things about this jobs report is that they have a thing called the Household Survey. And the employment numbers there fluctuate widely from month to month, but they do take account of small businesses. Those jobs numbers went up 1.1 million. So you have a lot of small businesses ready to go, but now you have the vaccine mandate in there, which is going to hurt, especially in critical areas. So the government is the problem, not and I think people fear what the government is going to do in response to this new variant more than they do the variant itself.
So that is so interesting, the way that you put that, because that's the pressure that we feel when we watch, the markets on Wall Street this week. But that's also the pressure that we feel when people go to the store and some of the shelves are completely depleted of things that they need. The National Federation of Independent Businesses reporting that historically, large numbers of small businesses are struggling to increase their workforce. 29% say labor quality was their top problem, a 48-year record high. 48% of all business owners reported job openings they could not fill, far exceeding the historical average of about 22%. Treasury Secretary Yellen said this about the labor shortages.
We have a tight labor market, upward pressure on wages, which is to some extent good, but can also induce further price increases and needs to be watched.
Whenever I hear the administrative officials speaking, they never really mention human beings. So break that down. What exactly is she trying to say, and how does that jibe with what we're feeling?
Yeah, I love it when they used to call housing units. Like my home suite, unit, home sweet home, no, unit, suite, unit. So, yes, they use this bureaucratic jargon. But what she's saying is, yes, wages are going up. But guess what? Prices are going up even faster. And those, again, go back to the supply chain problems. Then you have another big thing coming up, Harris, and that is the Federal Reserve has been printing lots and lots of money, which is going to break into this economy next year. They're already using gimmicks to hold back $1.5 trillion that they've created, $1.5 trillion, and yet they still haven't stopped this so-called bond buying. They're going to slightly reduce it. No, they're just fanning the flames for a future disaster. So that's where, again, the government is the problem. And if Janet Yellen and others would not try to be putting on new taxes, she's trying to get a global minimum tax on, first on businesses, but their ultimate aim is to get it on individuals. Those are the kinds of things that hurt what John Maynard Keynes called the animal spirits. People wanting to get out and do real things.
Yeah, the human animal spirit. Real quickly before I move on to the next thing here, you have brought up now a couple of times the supply chain crisis. That seems to be not just because it's the Christmas holiday season. It's where we're focused right now because it's diapers, it's medical products, it's everything, right? The president was joking, but really Santa Claus. We can't even afford to joke about that. But what do you think about his plan?
Well, he doesn't really have a plan. And again, when government gets out of the way, he talked about the ports in Los Angeles and Long Beach. One of the problems they had there was they wouldn't allow stacking of empty containers. So trucks had these empty containers. They couldn't take the containers off and take the full containers off the ships. Now, they modified that a little bit, but those are the kind of small things that add up to hurting the economy. So again, get those artificial obstacles out of the way, and this economy would really recover. But when you have a Federal Reserve stoking up future inflation, you have these government waging wars and making these strange appointments, including a banking regulator who wants to shut down the banking system, have the government take it over. Those things hurt. And then the global economy, they're going for lockdowns again. Not good.
Yeah.
The government is the problem. I fear the government more than the virus right now.
Wow. Real quickly, one sentence answer, if you can. What keeps you up at night over this?
What they're going to do in the name of helping us, Washington and others.
There you go. Steve Forbes, In Focus on a Friday. Thank you.
Thank you.